Greetings and salutation, my friends. My name's Rodger Newbold, and I'll be hosting this episode of Experience Photography today. My fellow photographer, my partner, and my editor for this episode is Matt Rich. And without whom, you would not even be seeing these results. Matt just dashed out of here, so have you landed in there yet?
Hello.
All right. We're so pleased to be back with you today. In our past episode, we spoke about some bits and pieces that are not generally discussed, but could really help you out. Now, trust me, $1's worth of fluorescent tape can really save you a bundle in the long run. I know it for a fact. I hope you enjoyed the information and went out and tried some of the new ideas. They really are time savers and money savers, and they really help expedite your photography. Now on to today's topic. I have read, watched, and sat in on countless discussions on composition, and I certainly hope to provide a distinctive twist on this overanalyzed and bloated subject. Talk about bloated. I want to give you a quote here from a famous French photographer, Henri Cartier-Bresson. He explained that composition was a picture made not only with the camera, but with the heart and the head, thus implying that composition is far more than fixed set of policies or rules or strategies. Now, I may lean towards being the sensible nerd, but I have found that technical and practical knowledge alone will only get you so far. So we're going to look at a set of tips here today, and this might be a big help to you in composition. Number 1, you must carry the camera with you everywhere. 2, you may conclude that you must use the camera frequently. Otherwise, it is hard to make images. 3, technically, the camera must be used correctly. And number 4, where you place the camera is indeed important. And that's just about it, really, for the technical requirements. Matt's going to put a little chart up right now so you can take a look at those. Remember, you can push the K key, stop this, and write these down if you need to, because I think they're quite important. So let's examine some more tips. But for the second half of the equation, these will be the more artistic components in the making of a photograph. A, you need compelling subject matter, and it must stimulate you before you even have to begin to worry about composition. So find subjects that really thrill you and make you happy and excited. And always respond immediately. Shoot what you see right now. It won't be the same in a minute. It never is. It won't be the same when you come back. Hey, I'll catch it on the way back. It's not the same. The light's different, the mood's different, the feeling's different, your thought pattern is different. Strike while the iron is hot. Don't walk past it. You see it, you shoot it. C, if necessary, keep a passion log on your phone, in the notes, or heaven forbid, you have to put it on paper. But do it as a reminder of why you shot this. As you work with your image, in post-production, you'll want to know why you shot it. How did you feel? Make those things verbal and keep a passion log so that it will remind you. Remember, you do have to bring more to the image than just a camera. That's a fact. There is no camera software that can recreate the photographer's feelings about the subject matter. How you felt. Nobody knows that. So look at this chart. Matt will put this up. Remember, push the K key if you need to. Stop it. Write these down. Now, let's get on with the whole thing. Photographic composition is the dynamic method of arrangement or placement of all of the parts within the frame. Let's pop that up there. Okay? How you group everything should only really matter to you. But if you display the picture to anybody else, it's going to matter to them and to any other audience as well. So, the one of the most repeated pieces of arrangement advice I've ever heard is, hey, let's use the rule of thirds. Now, this gets my goat. It really angers me. Maybe it could be a suggestion of thirds. It's a quick and dirty way of placing items in a frame. It is not a rule. You do not have to do it this way every time. It's a suggestion. It's a help. So let's look at figure number 1. Matt, if you'll put that up. Okay, there's a grid. Imagine this grid within your frame. Now you place or arrange the exciting or the important bits and pieces of the composition to where the green dots are on the intersections of the grid. And as an example, I'm going to use a photograph by Ansel Adams. Now, all of the rights and copyright are Ansel Adams Publishing Rights Trust. I did not take the image, the picture, or have any claim to it. This is just for your educational review. So let's look at figure number 2. That's the Adobe Church with the grid. Photograph Ansel Adams. You can see that the important visual artistic clues are placed on or near the intersecting points. This is the suggestion of thirds. You'll notice that the cross falls on one of those. This connotes that this is a church. The bell, it falls on one of these. And this indicates that it's some kind of public gathering place, that the alarm can be sounded and people can come. There are 2 gateways that also fall on one of the grid points, and it points out that there is a great deal of depth, that this is just not flat. And the bottom left point shows us a rising pattern, perhaps to an elevation of deity. So that's kind of how it breaks down. This arrangement of thirds is only a standby, and please use it sparingly. Now, composition is a blend of existing components of the subject matter and the manner or style in which the photographer reacts to them. How he frames them up, how he sees them, how he puts them all together. He or she, I'm sorry. This personal style is the outer expression of your inner thoughts, feelings, and methods. And we think about what is before us. We look for it. what I seek in my personal photographs is the gesture, or the essence of actually what I see. Now, the gesture is the expression that most likely will be at the heart of everything we shoot, or should be, could be. Choose the gesture that you want to show. And if you want to explain to yourself, that's good. How you become infinitely more aware, more creative, and considerably better at composition if you can explain it. Let's look at figure number 3. This is a big sweeping sand dune. The gesture is a massive upsweep of the dune. Compositionally, that's what should be emphasized in its gesture. Getting the camera low enough so it look up and you see the height of the dune. And then you use a wide-angle lens to stress the sweep of the photograph and the landscape and the area. How beautiful it is. Now we're going to look at figure 4, the overlapping hills and its essence. Compositionally, the essence of the photograph is indeed the overlaps. They underscore the visual depth. It's aided by the backlighting that's coming from the sun behind it. And it gives us this indication of infinite steps back and gives us a lot of depth in the picture. And speaking of backlighting, never forget to turn around and see what's behind you. Figure number 5. This is the Blue Ridge Parkway. Copyright Paul Caponegro Sr. Mr. Caponegro uses the gesture of the swervy S-curve to portray depth, and it gives us movement through the frame. Now the lighting has drawn attention to the movement as well. The light may or may not have been there during the original exposure, and that's kind of a cool thing. So don't overlook the possibility of adding a little light and some drama and some excitement into your photograph in post-production. Remember, great photographs rarely fall out of the bottom of your camera. You need tender, loving care and your opinion, and that comes in generally in post-production. Now let's look at figure number 6. This is the redwood trees, copyright Ansel Adams. Ansel took advantage of this huge clear-cut area. One whole area of the forest was cut, stripped, and bare. And he came up there. He saw the splendid row of these vertical lines, the repeating pattern of the vertical. Verticals imply strength. They imply marching or cadence. The gesture leaves us almost hearing the rhythmic beat in our ears. Your responsibility is to grab the essence or the visual spirit of the subject and emphasize it to the point that the viewer understands what is being shown. You can see here in this picture, you can feel it. You can almost hear the thump, thump, timp, boom, timp, thump, boom, boom, as it rolls through the picture. First time I saw that, I was blown away. Now let's look at figure number 7. Moonrise, Hernandez, New Mexico. Copyright Ansel Adams. This is a somber, dark picture, and the scene adds to the softness and to the solitude of expression in this small desert town. There are a series of visually implied horizontal lines. We've got the clouds, we've got the mountains, we've got the valley, we've got the buildings, and finally a row of sagebrush that indicates peacefulness and tranquility. Use that gesture to connote a mood to the viewer. Now, I agree. This appends more accountability on the part of the photographer. Yeah, you, the guy holding the camera. You have to be alert. You have to be inspired. You have to look for these things. They're just not going to jump out of the desert and say, hey, look at me, take a picture. You have to be alert. Figure number 8. It's the Big Sur coastline. This picture's copyright by Cole Weston. You'll notice that Mr. Weston's composition uses strong diagonal lines. And these lines reveal the direction and the visual movement. They're strong indicators that move the viewer's eye from one area of the picture to another, tapering from wide to narrow. This regenerates the feeling of a 3D depth and gives us some distance. Now, figure number 9, my partner Matt. Matt Rich, copyright. This is an eye-catching image. He utilized 2 very lofty principles that I want you to note here. First, the tapering lines. You look at this and it tapers back, gives us a lot of depth. The repeating pattern of the trees, oh, it's marvelous, and it draws us in. But one thing I want you to really gain from this is that color can also be a matter of composition. The cool blue-greens, they're everywhere, but they're punctuated by the warm yellow gold that demands the viewer's attention at the back of the picture. You have to kind of go through the whole thing to hit that pot of gold at the end. It knocks me out. And hopefully you'll find your own examples to do the same thing. Now in figure 10, these are talking about atmospheric conditions. I took these, and I believe that the atmospheric condition supports composition in many different ways. First of all, fog helps eliminate unwanted details. It simplifies the picture. Fog may also add an overall feeling or mood that bolsters what you're showing. It can become a picture of its own, like a simple handprint. Composition is truly coupled to the process of visualization. To assemble good composition, you have to slow down. You have to see what's really there. If you're just on a march, I know people like this. We've got to get from point A to point B before I need a drink of water or whatever it is. That's not photography. You've got to slow down. The more you look, the more you see. Articulate what you see. Conduct a personal inventory review of what's out there. Make a list, either in your mind or on paper or on your phone, the details that need to be taken into account, and determine how you can make them more prominent. I think this is really important, that you take the time to analyze. You got to stare. It's the way to educate your eyes. Remember, all of these are suggestions that we're offering to you to help you recognize that what your eyes and mind have discovered. Use them as you need them, but bear in mind the only difference between a rut and a grave is the dimension of the hole. Think and use your own input in your situations. All things should flow from your efforts in surrounding good composition. Now, we've reviewed 10 methods today that should strengthen your image. We covered thirds. To get low, highlight the gesture, illustrating overlaps to show depth. Use the S-curve to review and add depth and lighting and movement. Vertical lines add cadence and pace to a picture. Horizontal lines, they add peace, tranquility. Diagonal lines, they get you moving. Boy, they just force you right through the picture. They give you depth and direction. And also, don't underestimate the power of color. Take advantage of the atmospheric conditions when they are available. You will find they become a real fun thing to do and become your buddy. Now, as a parting tip, okay, here is figure 11. It shows an 8x10 piece of cardstock in which I cut a 2x3 hole in the center of it. That represents the aspect ratio of the 35 millimeter frame. Now, I did this with 35 and I cut one to represent 4x5 when I was carrying a view camera. Mainly, I put it in the outside pocket of my pack so I could grab it, pull it out, because unpacking and setting up a 4x5 I found was so difficult and time consuming. Or to stop and pull your camera out and zoom and not everything. You just pull this card out of the outer pocket of your pack and you take a look through it. Now the card, if you hold it about 8 inches out from your eye, it equates to a normal lens. If you move it into 4 inches from your eye, it will give you a look of about a 24 millimeter, a good wide angle full frame lens. Now if you hold it out at arm length, it'll give you a short telephoto view about equal to 100 millimeter. And once you get this, you just compose by foot. You move around until everything looks correct. This is the magic bonus suggestion, and it's a real shortcut. You can add some zing to your pictures by just taking an extra second to think about them. Good photography is the remains of the way we see the world. It depicts our visual relationship of how we react to humanity. Certainly, it can become an adventurous way of life, where it can be the best darn source of recreation that I know of. So get out there, think it through, make some new images. You know, the great photographer Edward Weston, he lived 1886 to 1958. He said, now to consult the rules of composition before making a picture is like consulting the law of gravity before you go out to take a walk. Good composition is merely the strongest way of seeing. So it's really up to us to make good pictures, to build them. Most of the time they just don't jump out right in front of us. So act bravely, my friends. Act bravely. Matt and I hope we've given you some different but very valuable new information. So please subscribe to our channel. Give us that big thumbs up if you found this information constructive. And for your convenience, you can tinkle that little bell. That will give you notification when new material is published. Please keep your comments coming in. I hope you view this site as the best two-way street that you viewed today. Share it with your friends. Help them build their photography. And it also helps us provide you with more information. So I want to thank you for tuning in today. Stay well until we meet on screen again. And cheerio for now. Rodger signing out.